Hello everyone, are you ready for the next part of our story from George's Marvellous Medicine? I did notice when I was looking at the book earlier that there's an interesting picture there. Looks like he's giving something to, I'm not sure what that is. Let's find out, shall we? I'm going to read a little bit that I read last time just so that we can remember what happened. Are you ready? Whenever I see a live slug on a piece of lettuce, Grandma said, I gobble it up quick before it crawls away. Oh, it's delicious. She squeezed her lips together tight so that her mouth became a tiny wrinkled hole. Delicious, she said again. Worms and slugs and beetly bugs. You don't know what's good for you. You're joking, Grandma. I never joke, she said. Beetles are perhaps the best of all because they go crunch. Grandma, that's beastly. The old woman grinned and showed those pale brown teeth. Sometimes if you're lucky, she said, you get a beetle inside the stem of a stick of celery. That's what I like. Grandma, how could you? Oh, you find all sorts of nice things in sticks of raw celery, the old woman went on. Sometimes it's earwigs. I don't want to hear about it, cried George. A big fat earwig is so tasty, Grandma said, licking her lips. But you've got to be very quick, my dear. When you put one of those in your mouth, it has a pair of sharp nippers on its back end, and if it grabs your tongue with those, it never lets go. So you've got to bite the earwig first. Chop, chop, before it bites you. George started edging towards the door. He wanted to get away as fast as possible from this horrible old woman. You're trying to get away from me, aren't you? She said, pointing a finger straight at George's face. You're trying to get away from your grandma. Little George stood by the door staring at the old woman in the chair, and she stared back at him. Could it be, George wondered, that she was a witch? He'd always thought witches were only in fairy tales, but now he wasn't so sure. Come closer to me, little boy, she said, beckoning to him with a horny finger. Come closer to me, and I will tell you secrets. George didn't move. Grandma didn't move either. I know a great many secrets, she said, and suddenly she smiled. It was a thin, icy smile, the kind a snake might make just before it bites you. Come over here to Grandma and she'll whisper secrets to you. George took a step backwards, edging closer to the door. You mustn't be frightened of your old grandma, she said, smiling that icy smile. George took another step backwards. There's the picture of Grandma talking to George. She really does look a bit like a witch, doesn't she? A bit scary. Some of us, she said. And all at once she was leaning forward in her chair and whispering in a throaty sort of voice that George had never heard her use before. Some of us, she said, have magic powers that can twist the creatures of this earth into wondrous shapes. A tingle of electricity flashed down the length of George's spine, and he began to feel frightened. Some of us, the old woman went on, have fire on our wizardry in the tips of our fingers. Some of us know secrets that would make your hair stand straight up on end and your eyes pop out of their sockets. George wanted to run away, but his feet seemed stuck to the floor. We know how to make your nails drop off and teeth grow out of your fingers instead. George began to tremble. It was her face that frightened him most of all, the frosty smile, the brilliant, unblinking eyes. We know how to have you wake up in the morning with a long tail coming out from behind you. Grandma, he shouted out, please stop. We know secrets, my dear, about dark places where dark things live and squirm and slither over each other. George made a dive for the door. It doesn't matter how far you run, he heard her saying. You won't get away. George ran into the kitchen and slammed the door behind him. There he is. I think she sounds very much like she might be a witch. The chapter next is called The Marvellous Plan. Well, let's think. The story's called George's Marvellous Medicine, and Grandma's meant to have her medicine at 11 o'clock. So I think I might know what's going to happen next. But we'll have to wait till next time to find out. You take care. Take care. Bye.